Your ex has such Detroit energy, babe, that fire the words dripping with mockery cut through the lavish Malibu wedding like a blade hurled by a white socialite bride at our biracial protagonist, a gifted urban planner and co-founder of a prestigious architectural consultancy. Her crime: daring to shine in a world that once tried to dim her light. She's endured betrayal, her ideas stolen, her vision dismissed, and her worth ignored by those closest to her. Yet in this moment of public humiliation, something shifts. Will she rise or retreat? Stick around to uncover the stunning twist that flips this story on its head. You won't see it coming if you're hooked. Hit that subscribe button to catch our latest videos and drop a comment sharing where you're watching from. How far will she go to reclaim her truth? Keep watching to find out. The Malibu coast shimmered under a golden dusk, the air thick with salt and the scent of blooming jasmine. The sprawling resort, its gardens, a cascade of meticulously curated elegance, buzzed with the clink of champagne flutes and the laughter of the elite Mila Jennings, a 30-year-old biracial urban planner and co-founder of Solvista Designs, stood at the edge of this opulent scene. Her tailored blazer, a quiet rebellion against the ostentatious gowns swirling around. Her presence wasn't that of a guest, but a sentinel here to inspect her domain, a property. Her firm had quietly acquired. Her dark eyes, sharp and unyielding, scanned the wedding reception unfolding before her, a tableau of wealth and privilege. The gardens, her creation from years past, were the heart of the event. Their intricate designs, uncredited, stolen. Mila's jaw tightened. She was here for justice, not celebration. The bride, a white socialite with a smile as polished as her diamond tiara, glided through the crowd, her voice carrying over the string quartet. Mila recognized her instantly. Delilah, the woman marrying Mila's ex-husband. The groom, a man Mila had once loved, was nowhere in sight, but his absence didn't soften the sting of the moment. She adjusted her clipboard, her role as Solvista Designs representative cloaking her in authority, and moved toward the catering tent to review operations. Her steps were measured, each one a deliberate reclaiming of space in a world that often tried to shrink her. "Excuse me. Are you Mila?" Delilah's voice sliced through the hum of the crowd, syrupy, yet sharp like honey laced with venom. Mila turned, meeting the bride's gaze. Delilah's eyes sparkled with feigned warmth, her lips curling into a smile that didn't reach them. "You're so, urban chic," she set her tone, a calculated blend of condescension and curiosity, as if Mila were an exotic artifact on display. The words landed like a slap, reducing Mila's meticulously built career to a stereotype. Guests nearby turned their murmurs, a soft chorus of intrigue. Mila's fingers tightened around her clipboard, but her face remained a mask of professionalism. "Landon mentioned you used to do some landscaping." Delilah continued, her voice louder, now drawing more eyes. "It's so sweet. You had a creative outlet like that." The word outlet dripped with dismissal, as if Mila's award-winning designs were mere hobbies, not the foundation of a thriving empire. Mila Jennings, whose firm shaped the very grounds they stood on, felt the unfamiliar weight of being underestimated. She forced a polite nod, her pulse quickening, and excused herself to check the lighting arrangements. But Delilah wasn't done. As Mila moved through the crowd, the bride followed, her heels clicking like a predator's stride, at the center of the reception under a canopy of fairy lights. Delilah raised her glass, her voice ringing out, "Oh, everyone. You must meet Landon's ex. She's got such Detroit energy, babe." That fire laughter rippled through the guests, a cruel symphony. Mila froze. She had never lived in Detroit. Delilah's words were a blatant racial jab, painting her as an outsider in this gilded world. The groom, emerging from the crowd in a tailored tuxedo, stood beside Delilah, his smirk a silent betrayal. Mila's heart thudded, memories of his past dismissals flooding back, but she refused to let them see her flinch. She turned, her movements graceful yet deliberate, and slipped toward the edge of the venue, her mind racing in the quiet of the parking lot. Mila leaned against her sleek black SUV, the ocean breeze cooling the heat in her cheeks. The insult wasn't new. She'd faced veiled slights before, from boardrooms to social gatherings, but this, at her resort using her designs, was a violation too far. Mila Jennings wasn't just a guest to be mocked. She was the power behind this place, the architect of its beauty and the owner of its future. Her phone buzzed in her hand and she dialed her operations manager. Her voice, steady as steel, confirmed the contract terms. Mila said her words clipped any activity involving uncredited use of my designs or behavior insulting to ownership. Can we terminate? The manager's response was swift. The contract was ironclad, granting Solvista Designs full authority to halt operations for such violations. Mila's lips curved into a faint, resolute smile. Delilah's words, the groom's complicity and the theft of her work had crossed a line, shut it down. She instructed power, music security, everything now within minutes. The resort transformed from a glittering stage to a scene of chaos. The fairy lights flickered out, plunging the reception into darkness. The string quartet's notes faltered, replaced by confused murmurs. Security guards acting on Mila's orders began, ushering guests toward the exits, their polite case but firm directives cutting through the growing panic. Delilah's voice rose, shrill and indignant, demanding answers. While the groom barked at the staff, his authority, meaningless against Mila's command. The gardens, once a symbol of celebration, stood silent, their beauty, a testament to Mila Jennings's genius. Now reclaimed, Mila watched from her car, the dashboard lights casting a soft glow on her face. She felt no triumph, only a quiet resolve. This wasn't about revenge. It was about asserting her worth in a world that had tried to erase it. She handed her business card to the resort manager, a woman whose nod carried quiet respect. If they have issues, tell them to contact my lawyer. Mila said, her voice calm but unyielding. The manager tucked the card away, understanding the weight of the moment as Mila drove away, the darkened resort fading in her rear view. The first whispers of the fallout began. A guest phone in hand recorded the chaos, the video destined to spark a firestorm online. Mila Jennings didn't know it yet, but her stand would ripple far beyond this night, challenging the narratives of those who sought to diminish her. For now she focused on the road ahead. The ocean's roar, a reminder of her unyielding strength. She was no longer the woman who had been silenced. She was the architect of her destiny, and this was only the beginning. The Los Angeles skyline glittered through the lecture hall windows of the University of Southern California, its steel spires piercing a late afternoon sky. Stray with amber. Mila Jennings, a 24-year-old graduate student in urban design, sat at the edge of her seat, her notebook filled with sketches of urban gardens that could breathe life into the city's concrete heart. Her dark curls were pulled back, her eyes alight with a fire that had always set her apart in the Westlake neighborhood where she grew up today. Her professor had praised her latest project, a visionary design for a community park in Echo Park that wove native plants into a tapestry of public space. Mila's chest swelled with pride, but her ambition burned hotter, a quiet vow to reshape the world one garden at a time. The hum of a post-lecture reception filled the room where students mingled with industry professionals. Mila, in a simple blazer that belied her meticulous attention to detail, presented her project to a small crowd, her voice steady yet vibrant as she described how green spaces could heal communities across the room. A tall figure caught her eye, Landon Bishop, a business student whose confidence seemed to command the air itself. His tailored suit and easy smile marked him as someone accustomed to privilege. Yet his gaze lingered on Mila, drawn to the passion in her words when he approached, introducing himself with a handshake that felt like a promise. Mila felt a spark not just of attraction, but of possibility. Their connection deepened over weeks, fueled by late-night conversations in campus coffee shops. Landon spoke of his family's real estate empire, his dreams of expanding it, while Mila shared her vision of landscapes that could transform urban decay into vibrant ecosystems. His admiration for her creativity was genuine, or so it seemed, and Mila found herself captivated by his ambition, mistaking it for a shared hunger when he invited her to a networking event hosted by his family's firm. She accepted, eager to bridge their worlds, but the moment she stepped into the opulent downtown venue, Mila sensed the weight of scrutiny. Landon's parents, their smiles tight and their questions probing, assessed her with a coolness that prickled. Her skin Echo Park, his mother said, her tone implying a distance far greater than geography. Mila brushed it off, focusing on Landon's hand in hers, but a seed of doubt took root back in her studio apartment. Mila poured her energy into her craft. Her latest project, a proposal for a community park, was gaining traction. its bold integration of sustainable design earning her a coveted student award at the awards ceremony held in a sleek Los Angeles gallery. Mila stood before a crowd of academics and city planners, her voice ringing with conviction as she unveiled her plans. The applause was thunderous, and for a moment she felt invincible. Landon, seated in the audience, clapped with a pride that warmed her. But later, over dinner, his words carried a subtle edge. "Your park's impressive, Mila, but maybe scale it back a bit," he suggested, swirling his wine. "Big ideas don't always sell to the right people." Mila frowned, her fork pausing midair. His comment, cloaked in pragmatism, felt like a leash on her vision. Their engagement came swiftly, a whirlwind of romance that culminated in a proposal under the stars at Griffith Park. Mila, dazzled by Landon's charm and the promise of a shared future, said yes, her heart racing with dreams of building something together. But cracks began to show even before the ring settled on her finger. Landon's suggestions grew more insistent. Her design should be less experimental, more aligned with his family's commercial projects. At a meeting with his firm's architects, Mila presented a concept for a boutique hotel's courtyard, her sketches blending native flora with modern aesthetics. The team was enthralled, but Landon interjected, proposing changes that stripped away her boldest elements. "We need something more upscale," he said, his smile apologetic but firm. Mila's throat tightened, but she nodded, swallowing her frustration to keep the peace. The tension escalated when Mila collaborated with Landon's firm on a high-profile hotel project. Her design, a lush courtyard that merged sustainability with elegance, was the centerpiece. Late one night, working alone in her studio, Mila refined the plans, her fingers tracing lines that felt like an extension of her soul. She imagined families gathering in the space, children running through paths lined with wild flowers. But at the final review, Landon presented the project as a team effort, his name prominently featured, while Mila's was relegated to a footnote. When she questioned him later, his eyes flashed with irritation. "This is how the industry works, Mila. You're too focused on credit." Her heart sank, the betrayal a quiet wound, but she pressed forward, determined to prove her worth. As their wedding approached, Landon's expectations grew clearer. At a dinner with his parents, his mother mused about Mila settling into family life after marriage. Her words, a velvet cage. Mila Jennings, whose dreams stretched far beyond domesticity, felt the walls closing in. She began to see Landon's charm as a mask for control, his support conditional on her willingness to dim her light. Yet love still tethered her, a fragile thread. She wasn't ready to cut. She threw herself into her final graduate project, a community park that would later win her accolades, hoping it would anchor her to her truth. The chapter closed on a quiet evening in her apartment. Mila sketching under the glow of a desk lamp. Her phone buzzed with a text from Landon inviting her to another of his family's events. She hesitated, her pencil hovering over a drawing of a garden that seemed to pulse with her resilience. The city outside hummed with possibility, a reminder of the world. She was determined to shape. Mila Jennings wasn't just a student or a fiancée. She was a force, her ambition of flame that no one, not even Landon, could extinguish. But as she set her sketch aside, a flicker of unease stirred the path ahead. She sensed would test her in ways she couldn't yet foresee. The Los Angeles skyline loomed beyond the floor-to-ceiling windows of the penthouse, its lights casting a cold glow over the sleek furniture Mila Jennings shared with her new husband, Landon Bishop, the apartment perched high above. The city's pulse was a testament to Landon's wealth, but to Mila it felt like a gilded cage. At 24, newly married and brimming with ambition, Mila had launched Terra Bloom Studio, her urban planning firm with a vision to weave beauty and sustainability into urban spaces. Her days were a whirlwind of client meetings and sketches, her nights spent dreaming of gardens that could heal fractured communities. But within these walls, her dreams clashed with Landon's expectations, and the cracks in their marriage began to widen, threatening to swallow her whole. Mila stood in the kitchen, her laptop open to a draft proposal for a rooftop garden in downtown LA, her fingers tracing lines of greenery that could soften the city's steel edges. Landon, lounging on the leather sofa with a glass of bourbon, glanced over with a half-smile that didn't reach his eyes. "Still tinkering with your little projects?" he asked, his tone light but laced with dismissal. Mila's shoulders stiffened, but she forced a smile, unwilling to let his words derail. Her focus? Terra Bloom Studio had just secured its first major contract, a revitalization project for a community center in South Central, and the weight of that achievement anchored her against his subtle barbs. Yet his insistence that her work was a mere hobby gnawed at her, a constant reminder of the pedestal. He expected her to vacate. The tension escalated when Mila joined a high-stakes project with Landon's family firm, a luxury resort development on the Santa Barbara coast. Her design, a sprawling landscape that blended native plants with modern elegance, was poised to be the resort's crown jewel. Mila poured her soul into it, spending late nights refining every detail, envisioning guests wandering through paths lined with black-eyed Susans and willow oaks. She presented her plans to the firm's board, her voice steady as she outlined how the design could set a new standard for eco-conscious luxury. The room buzzed with approval, but Landon's silence was deafening. Later in his office, he leaned back in his chair, his gaze cool. "It's ambitious, Mila, but it's not what our clients want. Too earthy." The words stung, a veiled jab at her vision and her roots. The betrayal came weeks later, sharp and deliberate. Mila had been invited to a gala where the resort project would be unveiled in a glossy architectural magazine. She arrived in a deep emerald dress, her confidence bolstered by whispers of her rising star in the industry. But as the magazine was distributed, her heart stopped. The resort's landscape, her creation, bore another name. A white colleague from Landon's firm credited as the lead designer. Mila's hands trembled as she flipped through the pages, her work stripped of her signature. At the gala's edge, she confronted Landon, her voice low but fierce. "Why is my name missing?" she demanded, holding up the magazine. His eyes flashed with irritation, his voice cutting. "This is business, Mila. You're too focused on ego. Without me, you're nothing." Anyone will remember the words seared into Mila Jennings' core, echoing the doubts she'd fought since childhood. She stood there, the gala's chatter fading to a dull roar, her mind replaying every moment she diminished herself to fit Landon's world. The realization hit like a storm. He didn't just want her to succeed. He wanted her to succeed on his terms, a shadow to his spotlight. That night, alone in their penthouse, Mila paced, her bare feet cold. Against the marble floor, she opened her laptop, staring at the South Central project files. Her one beacon of independence, Terra Bloom Studio, was hers, untouchable by Landon's influence, and it was time to protect it. The decision to leave came slowly then. All at once, Mila met with a lawyer in a quiet cafe, her hands steady as she signed the divorce papers. Landon's reaction was a mix of shock and scorn, his voice dripping with condescension. "You'll crash and burn without me," he warned, his words a final attempt to cage her. But Mila Jennings was done. Shrinking, she moved into a modest apartment in Highland Park, its small balcony just big enough for a few potted plants that reminded her of her roots. The space was hers, a canvas for her resilience. Her first act of defiance was securing the South Central contract. The community center's director, a woman with kind eyes and a firm handshake, had chosen Mila's proposal over larger firms, moved by her passion for community-driven design. On the site's groundbreaking day, Mila stood amid the empty lot, the wind carrying the scent of fresh earth. She sketched in her notebook, envisioning a garden where children could play and elders could rest, a space that honored the East Side's spirit. The work was grueling: late nights, tight budgets, and skeptical contractors, but Mila thrived in it, her confidence rebuilding with every blueprint. Yet the wound from Landon lingered. At a local networking event, a colleague mentioned hearing Landon dismiss her as talented but naive, a comment that stung more than she cared to admit. Mila Jennings wasn't naive, she was a force, her firm gaining traction with every project. But the betrayal had left a scar, a reminder of the world's readiness to erase her. As she walked home under Los Angeles' starry sky, her phone buzzed. With a new client inquiry, a flicker of opportunity, Mila paused, her breath visible in the cool night air. She wasn't just rebuilding her career, she was forging a legacy. The road ahead would be fraught, but Mila Jennings, with her sketches and her fire, was ready to face it. The LA wind whipped through the open windows of Mila Jennings's Highland Park office, carrying the faint scent of the Pacific and the hum of a city in constant motion. At 29, Mila stood at the helm of Tara Bloom's studio, her urban planning firm, now a rising star in a competitive industry. Her desk was a mosaic of sketches, sweeping visions of urban oases and resort gardens, each line a testament to her unyielding drive beyond her public success. Mila held a quieter triumph co-ownership of Nura Equity Group, a real estate investment firm that operated in the shadows, its influence, vast but discreet. Her journey from a broken marriage to this moment of power had been forged in resilience, and now a new challenge loomed, one that would test her resolve and redefine her legacy. Tara Bloom Studio had become a beacon of innovation, its portfolio brimming with contracts for luxury estates and public spaces that breathed life into concrete landscapes. Mila's latest triumph was a coastal retreat in Carmel, where her design of terrace gardens had earned praise in architectural journals. She walked the site during its unveiling, her boots sinking into the soft earth as she surveyed the cascading wildflowers and sculpted pathways. Clients marveled at her ability to blend beauty with sustainability. But Mila Jennings kept her gaze forward, her ambition, a quiet fire. Her success was no accident. It was the result of sleepless nights, meticulous planning, and a refusal to let the world define her limits. But even triumph came at a cost. Mila often masked the toll. Late nights spent poring over designs left her waking with headaches she couldn't shake. A persistent tightness behind her eyes reminded her that pushing forward meant sacrificing rest. There were mornings when her reflections showed more fatigue than fire, but she pressed on, unwilling to yield to the exhaustion that trailed her rise. Nura Equity Group, however, was her hidden ace. Mila had joined forces with a silent partner, a savvy investor who valued her vision. Together, they acquired properties across the country, transforming them into landmarks of design and profit. Their latest acquisition was a jewel, a sprawling resort in Napa Valley, its gardens a creation Mila had crafted years ago during her time with her ex-husband's firm. The purchase was a calculated move, executed through layers of anonymity to shield her identity. Mila relished the irony. Her former husband, Landon, remained oblivious to her ownership, even as he planned his lavish wedding at the very site she now controlled. The revelation came on a crisp morning as Mila sipped coffee in her office, the city skyline a jagged silhouette against the dawn. Her phone buzzed with a call from a former colleague, a loyal ally from her early days. "Mila, you need to know this," the voice said, urgent but cautious. "Landon's using your old Napa Valley design for his wedding. No credit, no mention of you. It's being touted as the centerpiece." Mila's grip tightened on her mug, the warmth grounding her as anger flared. The design, a labyrinth of blooming paths and serene water features, was hers, a piece of her soul etched into the earth. To see it stolen again, its origins erased, was a wound reopened. But Mila Jennings was no longer the woman who had once bowed to betrayal. She leaned back in her chair, her mind racing with possibilities. Ignoring Landon would be the easy path, a way to preserve the peace she'd fought to build. But the theft of her work, coupled with the audacious ignorance, demanded action. Mila's fingers traced the edge of a contract on her desk, its clauses a shield and a sword. As co-owner of the resort, she held the power to enforce her rights, to demand accountability. The decision crystallized in her mind. She would go to Napa Valley, not as a scorned ex-wife, but as a force of authority, ready to reclaim what was hers. The journey to the coast was a blur of determination. Mila boarded a private flight, her laptop open to blueprints and legal documents, her resolve as unyielding as the steel of the plane. She reviewed the resort's contract, its terms clear. Any unauthorized use of intellectual property or misconduct toward ownership could trigger immediate termination of services. Her designs were protected, her authority absolute. As the plane descended, the Napa Hills unfolded below, a tapestry of wealth and exclusivity. Yet Mila felt no intimidation. She was no outsider here. She was the architect of its beauty, the silent power behind its prestige. Arriving at the resort, Mila stepped onto the grounds, her heels clicking against the stone pathway she had once envisioned. The gardens were as she remembered, their elegance undimmed by time. Guests milled about, unaware of the storm brewing beneath the surface. Mila's presence was discreet, her clipboard and understated attire, marking her as a professional, not a guest. She met with the resort's manager, a sharp-eyed woman who respected Mila's authority without question. Together they reviewed the event's logistics, but Mila's focus was elsewhere. She scanned the wedding setup, her gaze lingering on the floral arches and sculpted hedges. Her work, uncredited, now the backdrop for Landon's new chapter as the ceremony approached. Mila stood at a vantage point, overlooking the venue, the ocean's rhythm, a steady counterpoint to her racing pulse. The wedding was a spectacle, its opulence, a stark contrast to the quiet strength Mila carried. She watched as the bride, a figure in white, moved through the crowd. Her laughter carried on the breeze. Landon, in a tailored tuxedo, stood nearby, his confidence unshaken by the past. Mila's heart stirred not with longing, but with clarity. This was no longer about him. It was about her truth, her legacy. The moment of confrontation loomed, but Mila Jennings was no impulsive avenger. She would act with precision, her power rooted in the contracts she'd signed and the empire she'd built as the sun dipped below the horizon. Casting the gardens in a golden glow, Mila felt a surge of certainty. She was ready to step into the fray, not to destroy, but to reclaim the Napa Valley night stretched before her alive. With possibility, and Mila Jennings, urban planner and titan, stood poised to shape its outcome. The Napa Valley dawn broke in hues of coral and gold, but the resort, once aglow with celebration, lay quiet, its grandeur marred by the chaos of the previous night. Mila Jennings sat in her Los Angeles office, the city's skyline, a jagged silhouette against the morning haze. Her phone vibrated, incessantly notifications flooding in like a rising tide. A guest's TikTok video had ignited the internet. $1 million wedding crashed after bride insults secret resort, owner grooms ex-wife, the clip grainy but damning captured. The darkened venue, Delilah's frantic protests, and the bewildered exodus of guests. Mila's decision to halt the event had sent shockwaves far beyond the Napa Valley's vineyards, and now at 29. As co-owner of Nura Equity Group and head of Tara Bloom's studio, she stood at the center of a storm she'd unleashed with surgical precision. The viral video spread like wildfire, amassing millions of views. By midday, comments poured in a chorus of outrage and admiration. She shut it down. One user wrote, while another speculated, "Who is this queen?" Mila Jennings scrolled through the reactions, her expression unreadable. She hadn't anticipated the viral frenzy, but she felt no regret. The decision to pull the plug, cutting power, music, and security, was rooted in her authority as the resort's owner and the legal protections of her designs. Delilah's Detroit energy quip and Landon's complicity had violated more than her pride they'd breached. The contract's terms, and Mila had acted to defend her legacy. By afternoon, the media descended, online outlets dissected the incident, unearthing Landon's history of sidelining Mila during their marriage. A blogger digging through old architectural journals connected the dots. The Napa Valley Resort's gardens, hailed as a masterpiece, were Mila's creation, uncredited. Until now, articles painted a vivid picture of a biracial woman whose brilliance had been overshadowed by a man's ambition. Urban planner reclaims her work in stunning power move. One headline declared Mila's inbox overflowed with interview requests, but she declined them all, choosing silence over spectacle. Her focus remained on her empire, not the headlines. Delilah, meanwhile, faced a public reckoning. Her Detroit energy quip, caught on video, sparked accusations of subtle racism. Social media users, particularly from marginalized communities, called out her privilege, dissecting how her words reduced Mila to a stereotype. Delilah posted a tearful apology on Instagram, claiming her comment was misunderstood. But the backlash only intensified, branding her insincere. Landon, too, bore the brunt. Industry insiders whispered about his past, how he'd claimed credit for Mila's designs during their marriage. A scathing expose in a design magazine detailed his role in erasing her contributions, tarnishing his reputation among Los Angeles's elite. Landon's response was predictable. A furious email from his lawyer landed in Mila's inbox, threatening a lawsuit for disrupting a private event and demanding compensation for reputational damage. Mila Jennings, unfazed, forwarded the message to her legal team. She met them in a sleek downtown office, the city's hum a distant backdrop. Her lawyer, a sharp woman with a knack for dismantling weak claims, laid out the evidence. The resort's contract, which allowed termination for intellectual property violations or hostile behavior copyright, records proving Mila's ownership of the garden designs and witness statements, including the resort manager's account of Delilah's remarks, security. Footage, though the audio was faint, captured the bride's mocking tone. "They have no case." The lawyer said, her voice steady. "This is airtight," Mila nodded, her calm a fortress built from years of resilience. The legal threat fizzled as quickly as it had flared. Landon's lawyer, faced with Mila's ironclad documentation, withdrew the claim within days. Mila Jennings felt a quiet satisfaction, not in victory, but in the clarity of her power. She had acted within her rights, reclaiming her work and dignity with precision. Yet the public's reaction was a double-edged sword online. Some labeled her a vindictive ex, twisting her stand into petty revenge. Mila scrolled through the criticism, her jaw tight, but refused to let it define her. She knew the truth. This was about justice, not spite. The chaos yielded unexpected allies. A group of real estate investors, impressed by Mila's decisive handling of the crisis, reached out through a mutual contact over a virtual meeting. Their leader, a seasoned developer with a grizzled beard, praised her acumen. "You turned a personal slide into a masterclass in control," he said, offering a partnership to expand Nura Equity Group's portfolio into international markets. The proposal was staggering, a chance to design and own iconic properties across Europe and Asia. Mila Jennings leaned back in her chair, her mind racing with possibilities. This was more than a business deal. It was a gateway to a legacy that would echo far beyond Los Angeles. Back in her office, Mila stood by the window, the city sprawling. Beneath her, she opened her laptop, drafting a response to the investors, her words deliberate and confident. But before sending it, she paused, her thoughts drifting to the viral video. Its impact had shifted something in her, a realization that her story resonated with others who'd been silenced. She opened a blank document and began typing a statement, her fingers steady. "I didn't act to destroy," she wrote, "but to reclaim what was mine. My work, my identity, my truth. I did so legally, decisively, and without apology." The words felt like a manifesto, a declaration of her unyielding spirit. That evening, Mila recorded a brief video standing in one of her firm's urban gardens, the Los Angeles skyline framing her silhouette. "This isn't about revenge," she said, her voice clear and resonant. "It's about standing in your power unapologetically." She uploaded it to her firm's website, not expecting the response within hours. It spread across platforms shared by activists, designers, and everyday people who saw in Mila a symbol of defiance. Messages flooded in from young biracial women, inspired by her courage, to industry peers applauding her professionalism. As night fell, Mila Jennings sat on her balcony, a glass of wine in hand. The city's lights twinkled, a reminder of the world she was reshaping. The investor's offer lingered in her mind, a beacon of what could be. She wasn't just building gardens or properties, she was building a future where her voice and those of others like her could not be erased. The storm she'd unleashed was far from over, but Mila was ready to navigate its waves. Her resolve as unbreakable as the city she called home. The Los Angeles autumn painted the city in fiery hues. The leaves of Elysian Park glowing like embers against the glass skyline. 6 months had passed since Mila Jennings' stand at the Napa Valley Resort, and 29, she stood taller, her presence a quiet force in the world. She'd reshaped her office at Terra Bloom Studio, buzzed with energy, blueprints and mood boards spilling across tables, while Nura Equity Group, her real estate empire, expanded its reach. The viral storm of her actions had settled, but its ripples had carved a new path for Mila, one where her voice echoed beyond the gardens she designed. Now, as she prepared for a new chapter, she faced a deeper question, not just who she was, but who she would become in a world watching her every move. Mila's latest triumph was a contract to design a national park in California, a sprawling canvas of coastal cliffs and rolling meadows. She walked the site on a crisp morning, the Pacific's roar a steady pulse beneath her boots. Her vision, a network of trails and native plantings, would honor the land's history while inviting visitors to connect with its beauty. The project had drawn attention from environmentalists and architects alike, and Mila Jennings, once overshadowed, was now a sought-after speaker. At a San Francisco conference, she stood before a packed auditorium, her voice resonant as she shared her philosophy. Landscapes could heal, Unite and empower. The crowd's applause was a tide lifting her higher, but Mila's gaze remained fixed on the horizon. Her ambition unquenched back in Los Angeles, the fallout from the Napa Valley wedding had reshaped the social landscape. Delilah, the bride whose words had sparked the chaos, attempted a public redemption, her social media filled with carefully crafted apologies, but the elite circles she once ruled turned cold, her invitations dwindling as whispers of her insensitivity spread. Landon, Mila's ex-husband, faced a steeper fall. His real estate ventures faltered as partners distanced themselves, wary of his tarnished reputation. Industry gossip painted him as a man who'd underestimated a titan, his name now a cautionary tale. Mila Jennings heard these updates through the grapevine, but they stirred little emotion. Her focus was forward, not on the ruins of those who wronged her. Yet a message from a mutual acquaintance gave Mila pause over coffee in a quiet Highland Park cafe. The friend, a former colleague, shared Landon's private admission of regret. "He knows he messed up," the friend said, stirring her latte. "Says he didn't realize how much he hurt." Mila's fingers traced the rim of her cup, her expression unreadable. The words were a faint echo of a past she'd outgrown. Forgiveness, she realized, wasn't about absolving Landon. It was about freeing herself from his shadow. She thanked the friend and left her mind clear. Mila Jennings would not revisit that chapter. Her story was now her own to write. Her resolve was tested by new pressures. Fame, an unexpected byproduct of her stand, brought scrutiny at a Los Angeles gala. A rival designer approached his smile, sharp, bold move in Napa Valley. He said, his tone probing, "But can you keep that fire without burning out?" Mila met his gaze, her response cool but firm. "I don't burn out. I build." The exchange lingered, a reminder that her success invited envy, but Mila Jennings thrived under pressure. Her confidence forged in the crucible of her past. Her true calling emerged in a quieter moment at a community event in Baldwin Hills. Mila met a group of young designers, their eyes bright with dreams, but tempered by doubt. One, a biracial teenager named Selena, shared how Mila's story had inspired her to pursue architecture. Despite discouragement, the words struck a chord, and Mila vowed to do more. She began planning a charitable initiative, a way to give back to those navigating the barriers she'd faced. The idea crystallized into the Nura Rising Fund, a vision to support women of color in design and real estate. The fund's launch was set for the Napa Valley Resort, a deliberate reclaiming of the space where Mila had asserted her power on the event day. The gardens glowed under soft lighting, their paths lined with guests from diverse backgrounds, activists, entrepreneurs, and students. Mila stood on a stage framed by her designs, her deep blue dress a nod to the ocean. "Beyond this isn't just about building spaces," she said, her voice carrying a quiet strength. "It's about building futures for those told they don't belong." She announced grants for aspiring designers and mentorship programs. Her words met with cheers that echoed through the night. Selena, now a mentee, stood in the crowd. Her smile, a mirror of Mila's oop. The event was a triumph, covered by local and national media as a beacon of change. Donations poured in, amplifying Nura Rising's reach. Mila Jennings, once dismissed as a hobbyist, was now a catalyst. Her name synonymous with resilience and impact. Yet as the night wound down, she slipped away to a quiet corner of the garden, the scent of jasmine wrapping around her. She thought of her journey from a Detroit dreamer to a woman who'd turned pain into power. The weight of her success was both a crown and a burden, but Mila carried it with grace as she walked back to the resort. Her phone buzzed with a message from the California Parks Director praising her latest designs. Mila smiled, the horizon calling her forward. She wasn't just redefining herself. She was redefining what was possible. The stars above Napa Valley glittered, a map of her ambitions, and Mila Jennings, architect of landscapes and lives, knew her work was far from done. The California coastline stretched before Mila Jennings, its cliffs kissed by the morning mist, the Pacific's waves, a rhythmic hymn to endurance. A year had passed since the Napa Valley wedding upheaval, and at 29 Mila stood as a titan in her field. Her landscape architecture, firm Terra Bloom Studio, and her co-owned real estate venture Nura Equity Group, now pillars of innovation. The National Park Project in California, with its sprawling trails and native blooms, had become a symbol of her vision, spaces that honored the earth and its people. But Mila's ambitions had grown beyond designing landscapes. She sought to cultivate futures to uplift those whose voices had been stifled as hers once was. As she walked the park's paths, her boots crunching on gravel, Mila carried a new mission: to forge a legacy that would outlast her in Los Angeles. Her office, hummed with purpose, blueprints for urban gardens and resort oases, lined the walls. But a new project consumed Mila's attention. The Nura Rising Fund, a lifeline for women of color in architecture and real estate, launched at the Napa Valley Resort. The fund had already awarded scholarships and mentorships, its impact rippling through communities from Baldwin Hills to Brooklyn. Mila had poured her heart into it. Driven by memories of her struggles against a world that often dismissed her, she partnered with universities, designing courses on sustainable design that wove in lessons of resilience. At a lecture hall in Atlanta, Mila spoke to a sea of students. Her voice, steady yet electric. "You are not your obstacles," she told them, her gaze meeting eager eyes. "You are your dreams, and they are worth fighting for." One connection stood out. Selena, a 19-year-old architecture student from Oakland, had emailed Mila. "After seeing her Napa speech online, your story kept me going." Selena wrote, describing how she'd faced skepticism from professors who doubted her talent. Mila, moved by the raw honesty, invited Selena to join Nura Rising's mentorship program. Their first meeting in a sunlit Los Angeles cafe was a spark of recognition. Selena's sketches, bold yet precise, echoed Mila's early work. "They told me I'm too young, too biracial, too female," Selena confessed, her voice wavering. Mila leaned forward, her eyes fierce. "Let them underestimate you, Selena, then prove them wrong." The bond grew, with Mila guiding Selena through design, critiques, and industry pitfalls, a mirror of the support she'd once craved. The Nura Rising Fund's reach expanded, its programs now spanning 10 states. Mila traveled, tirelessly meeting with grantees in Detroit, where a young designer was revitalizing a community garden, and in Miami, where a Latina entrepreneur pitched a sustainable housing project. Each story fueled Mila Jennings's resolve, her heart swelling with the knowledge that her work was planting seeds for change. But success drew scrutiny. A rival firm, led by a seasoned architect with a penchant for sharp-elbowed tactics, spread rumors that Mila's fund was a publicity stunt. At a New York industry panel, the architect smirked, questioning her sudden philanthropy. Mila, unruffled, responded with calm precision, "I build for those who've been overlooked." She said, her words silencing the room. "My legacy isn't for headlines, it's for lives." Her defiance earned her a new accolade. The National Design Council named Mila Entrepreneur of the Year, an honor that brought her to a glittering gala in Washington, D.C. The ballroom, aglow with chandeliers, buzzed with luminaries. But Mila Jennings commanded attention in a tailored crimson gown, her presence a quiet storm as she accepted the award. Her speech wove her journey into a call to action. "I was told I'd be forgotten," she said, her voice rising like a tide, "but I built a path where others can shine. This award isn't mine alone. It's for every dreamer who refuses to be erased." The audience rose, their applause a thunderous affirmation. Mila's eyes found Selena in the crowd, her mentee's proud smile a beacon of what lay ahead. The gala's aftermath brought a flood of support. Donors pledged millions to Nura Rising, in universities across the country requested Mila's curriculum. She stood on her office balcony, Los Angeles's lights twinkling below, and reflected on the weight of her impact. The rivals' barbs had faded, drowned out by the voices of those she'd uplifted. Selena's latest project, a community park in Oakland, was gaining local praise, a testament to Mila's mentorship. Other mentees sent updates. A scholarship recipient in Seattle had launched her firm, and a grantee in Houston was designing affordable housing. Mila Jennings wasn't just building spaces. She was building a movement. Yet the path wasn't without shadows. Late one evening, scrolling through her inbox, Mila found a message from a former colleague hinting at industry whispers that she'd peaked too soon. The words stung, a faint echo of past doubts, but Mila brushed them aside. She opened a sketchbook, drafting a new vision for a Los Angeles riverfront project. Her pencil dancing with purpose, the city's pulse matched her own, a reminder that her work was far from finished. As the chapter closed, Mila stood in the California National Park at dusk, the cliffs bathed in a lavender glow. Selena joined her, their laughter mingling with the ocean's song. You changed everything for me, Selena, said her voice, soft but sure. Mila smiled, her heart full. You're changing it for yourself. She replied. The horizon stretched endlessly before them, a canvas of possibility. Mila Jennings, once a dreamer told she was nothing, had built a legacy that would endure, a testament to her fire, her truth, and the future she'd inspired. What an incredible journey we've shared with Mila Jennings, a story of resilience, reclaiming identity, and building a legacy that inspires. Her courage to stand tall against prejudice and forge a path for others resonates deeply. Doesn't it? We'd love to hear your thoughts. Drop a comment below. How did Mila's story move you? Have you faced moments where you had to reclaim your power? Share your reflections, and let's keep the conversation going. A huge thank you for joining us on this unforgettable ride. Your support means the world. If you're as captivated as we are, hit that subscribe button and join us for more stories that spark change. Where are you tuning in from? Let us know. Till next time, keep shining, keep fighting, and we'll see you soon for another tale of triumph.